Topping today's news, a man stabbed to death while at a local motel in the south. Police investigate yet another suicide. The Clear Hold Build Crime Initiative moves to Carmichael, and the Ministry of Health concerned about an increase in sexually transmitted diseases among the nation's youth. This is your JCN Evening News. I'm Jarino Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Police are actively investigating a stabbing incident that claimed the life of an adult male early this morning. Initial reports reveal that shortly after 2 a.m., police were notified about the incident and responded to a business establishment, a local motel on East Street South. Officers discovered a male on a staircase with apparent stab wounds about the body. Emergency medical personnel examined the male but found no signs of life. Police are investigating and hope to bring this matter to closure in due time. If you do have any information that can assist their investigation, again, you're asked to contact the police at 919-911. You can call CID at 502-9991 or 2, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS, 328-8477. Police are also investigating a suspected suicide that has left a 46-year-old male deceased. This incident occurred at a residence on Royal Palm Street off Wilton Street just last night. Police say shortly after 9 p.m., the individual was found inside a home hanging by a cord from the ceiling in a bedroom by a family member who found him. Emergency medical personnel once again visited this scene, but again found no signs of life. Unfortunately, this is already the 5th person to commit suicide this year and follows the death of a 63-year-old male who also hung himself from a private dock on Guana Key in the Abacos on March 5th. There was a 33% increase in suicides in 2024, with 8 incidents compared to 6 reported in 2023. There have also been 6 attempted suicides so far this year. There were 50 attempted suicides recorded in 2024. Police Press Liaison Officer Chief Superintendent Sharia King offers this bit of advice to those who may be contemplating doing the unthinkable.
If you are struggling with any circumstances, if you're having a hard time, reach out to a trusted friend, a pastor, someone where you can confide in and see whether or not they can render assistance to you.
As a reminder, the Bahamas Crisis Center is always available for counseling and comforting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can reach them at 328-0922, 328-0922. After a successful start in the Angliston community, the government's Clear Hold Build Anti-Crime Initiative has been launched in Nassau Village and the Carmichael community. And on Tuesday, the Prime Minister was on hand to witness the clearing of one of the targeted areas in the Flamingo Gardens community. Mr. Davis again reminded that the initiative is part of the government's overall crime-fighting strategy and is proving to be effective.
And having cleaned them down, we hope that the neighborhoods and those who live in the community, we hope to engage them to assist us in continuing to keep it clean. And that's the cry and the charge I give to the neighborhoods, that you help us keep the neighborhood clean. And that's why the other aspect of this program is whole. And the whole means that we'll be have the continued and consistent approach to ensuring that we have the areas clear and clean.
As further proof that clearing of areas used to facilitate crime is working, Assistant Superintendent Natalie Ranger shared this bit of information.
While this property were being cleared down, we would have discovered a .38 revolver with 6 live rounds of ammunition. So that firearm were handed over to CSI for processing.
Also on hand was the Minister of National Security, Wayne Monroe, the MP for the area, Keith Bell, Education Minister, Glenys Hannah Martin from Angliston, Minister of Works, Clay Sweeting, along with the Commissioner of Police, Shanta Knowles. And finally, in this segment, Belinda Wilson, president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, addressing the issue of the Trump administration threatening to revoke U.S. visas for Bahamian officials due to the Bahamas' engagement with Cuban labor, particularly when it comes to the medical and education sector. Ms. Wilson noted that the Bahamas and Cuba has enjoyed a bilateral agreement for the recruitment of teachers for the public school system for about 20 years now, and says there are currently 130 Cuban teachers engaged throughout our public schools in the Bahamas. She spoke on the importance of having the Cuban teachers in the school system at this time.
These Cuban teachers play a vital role as they fill the gap because of the teacher shortage, especially in those disciplines or subject areas where the local expertise is not readily available.
President Wilson said as far as she is aware, the Cuban teachers enjoy the same benefits as Bahamian teachers. She had a bit of advice for the government in relation to the Trump administration's threat to revoke U.S. visas for Bahamian officials.
I urge the government of the Bahamas to review all the government-sponsored programs to ensure that all of the ministries, departments, and agencies are meeting its obligations. I also urge the Bahamas government to review the Trafficking in Persons Act of 2008 to ensure its effectiveness. Further, I urge the Bahamas government to review the ILO Convention 29, forced labor, to ensure adherence.
President Wilson believes the change in U.S. policy will compel the Bahamian government to pay closer attention and regularly check the development and progress of the Cuban labor export program. You're listening to Jcn News. We'll take a break here. We'll be right back following these commercials. Welcome back. Officers attached to Operation Black Scorpion on Wednesday successfully seized a firearm and a quantity of ammunition. It was shortly after 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday when officers armed with a search warrant escorted a 26-year-old male who was already in custody to a residence on Australia Avenue in Elizabeth Estates. A thorough search was conducted of the residence where a firearm and the ammunition were discovered. The male was further cautioned, and a lone 24-year-old female occupant of that home was also arrested and cautioned. Investigations continue. Operation Black Scorpion, by the way, is a collaborative effort between the police and the Royal Bahamas Defense Force. Minister of Health and Wellness Dr. Michael Darville recently alerted the general public to the rise in kidney failure and other serious illnesses, which he says are on the rise in the Bahamas. He says currently there are over 600 people, both adults and youth, that are on the government's hemodialysis program.
This silent epidemic is robbing lives and stealing our loved ones away from us. Our dialysis centers are overflowing with patients, and we are running out of options. This is why we are addressing this life-threatening problem from every direction, inclusive of prevention, reduction on wholesome foods, treatment, and yes, the launch of a kidney donor transplant program. Mr. Deputy, we don't need numbers to tell the story. We in the Ministry of Health and Wellness see the devastating effect of end-stage renal disease every day. We see the long lines in our clinics, the worried faces of our patients who fear the next step in their medical treatment. Mr. Deputy, these are not just statistics. They are our constituents. They are our families. They are from our communities all across the country.
The health minister reminded Bahamians that many of the chronic diseases in country, like kidney failure, are brought on by lifestyle choices and are oftentimes preventable. Joined by the director of the National HIV/AIDS and Infectious Diseases Program, Dr. Nakia Forbes, while at the Ministry of Health and Wellness on Wednesday, Dr. Darville also revealed that there is cause for concern after a sharp rise in sexually transmitted infections among the nation's youth. He said recent data has revealed there was a sharp increase in reported chlamydia cases in the month of February, with 131 reported cases compared to 80 cases in all of 2024. The two most affected age groups, 15 to 19 years old and 20 to 24 years old, each accounting for approximately 27% of the reported cases. Dr. Darwell says this uptick is a cause for concern.
When chlamydia is left untreated, it can lead to serious health complications, particularly in women, including infertility and pregnancy-related complications. Additionally, there's an increase in one STD. We can notice the trend of other STDs that will follow, like gonorrhea, syphilis, and HIV.
In response to the rise in chlamydia cases, the Ministry of Health is strengthening its public health efforts by increasing public awareness and expanding access to testing and treatment services. He recommended that all sexually active individuals take charge of your health and get tested regularly, practice safer sex, and seek medical care immediately if you experience symptoms. And finally, more on the Royal Caribbean Cruise Emerging Paradise Island Beach Club on the western end of Paradise Island. The project, which started in April of 2024, is said to be halfway completed and expected to be finished in November this year for the December opening. Out of 15 structures, 13 of the foundations have already been laid and completed. Although there is a lot of work left to be done, project and production manager Ronald Forbes is confident they will meet that deadline.
The timeline is, for any construction project, always seems tight. But despite the optics of it, we are definitely making progress and we're definitely making pace, and we're going to stay on that target until completion.
Forbes said at the moment there are about 290 employees working tirelessly to make sure they reach their goal by the end of the year. That'll do it for your JCN Evening News. I'm Jcn Saunders. It's been a pleasure to have you join us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.